Matt Steinmetz. Oh, you're a Draymond hater. This is not Daryl the Guru Johnson.
Preach.
It's time, Steiny. This was Steve Kerr, the head coach, saying, it's unforgivable what he did. And when I hear unforgivable, I feel like because they've never used that word before, it does mean something. Steve Kerr, I don't think, would use that word unless
he meant it. And I'll tell you what.
Unless they're,
if I'm Draymond Green or he's the guy that I think he is, I would ask to speak to Steve alone and explain to me what you meant by unforgivable. Like, I know I was in the wrong, but why would you go public and say like, I'm serious, Steiny. I would ask,
sick of it,
can
Draymond.
you break down what that means?
Because you promised us 6 times you'd change. You never have changed. You promised us one last time before you got your contract that you would be better. And we've given you 8 years. It's been 8 years since you threatened to kill Steve Kerr in the locker room in Oklahoma City.
He deserved
it.
It's been
8 years since Steve Kerr threatened to kill the head coach of the Golden State Warriors at halftime, to the extent that it was so serious that security had to get in there.
We didn't make that happen.
And that wasn't unforgivable. Punching Jordan Poole wasn't unforgivable. Getting suspended wasn't unforgivable. Hitting Nurkic wasn't unforgivable. Getting into it with Durant wasn't unforgivable. This was unforgivable. What's it mean? And to me, if I just take words at their meaning, it sounded to me like Draymond Green, they will try to move off him this summer. Because how can you not at this point? I think Steve Kerr is basically setting the table for Warrior fans and saying, listen, it's pretty much over with this guy. We got to go 10 more games. We'll see what we can do in the play-in and postseason.
I agree.
And what I think he's being super careful, but what I think Steve Kerr doesn't realize is I think 90% of the fans are with him. They'd be with the Warriors.
I don't know who would argue against that.
Let's go to Jesse. Jesse's in San Jose. What's
girl.
up, Jesse?
Hey, how you guys doing, man? It's my first-time caller, so bear with me.
Hey.
Yeah, I think it's time for us as fans to really just kind of take a step back and look at where this franchise is, right? And how I'm going to relate this to the Draymond situation is, I don't know if it's just me, but I notice every time Kerr or his teammates talk about Draymond, they always feel the need to preface it first with, like, first off, let me tell you how important he's been to us and how we need him. Like, nobody's ever denied how important Draymond was to those championship teams, right? But why can't we all admit that he's not that guy anymore on the court, but he's still the same guy getting ejected, all the extracurricular activities, right? At a certain point, all this extra stuff, it's too much compared to what he's bringing you on the court now. And this team is barely hanging on to the 10 seed, right? In all reality, they're lucky to be there because John Morant hasn't played for Memphis all year. If he's healthy, Memphis is better than Golden State this year. If Houston doesn't pass Golden State this year, they're going to pass them next year. So now you're looking at, probably the 12th best team in the West next year. And they keep telling us, yeah, but we need Draymond. He's so important. How important is he to a 12th best team in the West? At this point, I just don't think the apple is worth the squeeze anymore with this guy. And as a fan, it's becoming harder and harder to root for this team with this guy on it. And that's the worst part of it because he's just becoming so unlikable. And to be honest, and this is my last point, they have enabled this guy so much with all this.
Right.
Well, we need him. He's so important, and I think I don't know if they're scared of this guy. Like watching Curry walking to the tunnel and Draymond there, we all wish Curry would have just walked by him and said, dude, like screw off. I don't think Curry knows what would have happened if he would have did that, and this is the face of the franchise. This organization is being held hostage by this guy. That's what it feels like. Those are just my thoughts. Thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate it.
I wouldn't say hostage in the sense that, again, I know I kind of wanted to just play checkers with you and just have this discussion. I know it's kind of off the ranch, off the platform, Steiny, but I don't see the big deal in an employee going over to his boss's house and then coming away with the contract. But my point is that there was no hostage in this because Joe Lacob told Kawakami he's like a brother to me, and gave him and signed off on it.
Okay, well, how many times does that happen? I'm telling you right now, it happens very infrequently. I don't think, I get it's another owner, but no, it's very rare that a player would drive to the owner's house.
So that was the reason you're saying?
Of course it was.
The end was it. It was on the card.
Well, this is where I don't know the specifics, but why would Draymond Green drive to Joe Lacob's house?
What if I told you to talk? Now, you could say about what?
Yeah. About his contract extension.
Now, is that I'm being real. Is that a bad thing? Should we do it over the phone? Like, there's negotiation.
Draymond Green has an agent, the most prominent agent in the NBA, Rich Paul.
Okay. All right.
Rich Paul negotiates contracts with Mike Dunleavy and Bob Myers, and then they come to Joe Lacob, and Joe Lacob says yes or no.
No,
so
I feel that.
It is highly unusual for a player to go to an owner's house. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but is it done? No.
But my point, I hear you. My point is not shame on Lacob, but I guess I'm going there.
You can say shame on Lacob.
Like whatever you ate or talked about, this is what you. I guess.
Listen,
and I said this about Dray. Let me get this off my chest, Steiny. As much as I'm disappointed in him as a teammate, I've said this. If the team is going to allow this to continue, how can we jump in front and say, "Oh man"? If they allowed. So to me, Wednesday night was symbolic because I think that was the end. The unforgivable, Steph getting emotional, that was the first time it felt like a stand, and Dray got it, the message of enough is enough. Now we'll find out.
I don't know if
what
he's gotten that message.
It didn't sound like it on the podcast. I mean, if I would have said it with my shoulder at the 90-degree, if I would have wore a different shirt, I wouldn't have got caught. What do you say? That's not remorse, Dray.
Let's go to Bobby. Bobby's in Virginia. What's up, Bobby? How you doing, man? What do you got for us today?
Yes.
Oh, got to call back, Bobby. Yeah, call back. Bobby, call back.
Yeah, little Dick Vermeil.
Austin in San Jose. Hey, Austin, how you doing?
Austin, speak to us.
Hey, fellas, happy Friday, man. Listen, I just want to add a little bit of a kind of a counter to this. I know it's Draymond, and I usually come in Draymond's defense. No defense for this, but I will say that I'm not as overwhelmed about this incident. I think that what we should be, what's unforgivable is the overall performance of the core. We call so-called core. I mean, if you look at the salaries and the performance, I mean, I know that the Draymond thing is a big deal today, but the reality is that I don't think this is the tipping point at all. I think the tipping point already occurred. I think they've already decided to do some things, make some moves in the offseason, regardless of what Draymond did. So if you finish in the 10th seed with this team, bro, I mean, there's no way you're bringing back this team next year. I don't care what kind of sentiment. I don't care if you drove to the owner's house and had breakfast with his daughter or whatever. It don't matter. I mean, you got to perform on the court, guys. So I know that the sentiment today is around Draymond,
but
he's more of like
lost Austin.
He's more of the
Go ahead, Austin.
But the big boys don't play that way, Steiny. You know that. This is a big boy league.
But let me ask you this.
Major contract here.
Yeah, let me ask you this specifically though, because I definitely want to keep the focus off me or Guru or you even. Does it feel like to you, after hearing Steve Kerr yesterday, that Wednesday was something different from everything else?
I think that Steve is very careful with his words. I agree that Steve has a way of using certain words at certain times, but he also has a way of trying to influence, I think, his players with the way he talks too. So I'm not sure if Kerr has the overall power to say, hey, this is the end anyway. I think he may be expressing his sentiment, but I'm not sure that he's speaking for the whole organization. That would include Joe Lacob and the players. So I'd be a little careful about saying it's definitely the end game for Dray. That's my thoughts, guys.
Thanks, Austin. Appreciate the call. You know what I'm looking at? I was looking at the YouTube chat and the Comcast Business Text Line chat, and a lot of people, I guess, hadn't heard of this one. Remember this, Goo? Remember this. Halftime. Lisa Salters. I'm standing outside the locker room with the Oklahoma City police, which are always stationed outside of every locker room, Salters said. They kind of moved me aside, and the officer just kind of stood by the door with his hand on his weapon, like he was trying to determine what he should do. It was clear that something bad was about to happen in this locker room. We've never heard anything like this before. That's what happened in Oklahoma City in 2016.
But they got that. That's incredible, but it's almost more incredible that they got through it and we're at this juncture now. They've won 4 championships, Steiny. So, I mean, that was years ago. And the fact that Steve Kerr, as presidential as he is, they have a friendship and a relationship, Steiny. So I'm going Martin Luther King. They overcame that, but now it's, now it's at the end, and I just feel like this is just different. It just is, man.
Here's the thing that I was thinking about with the big three. All right, you got Steph Curry. He's alone. He's his own. And then you got just think about this for a minute. Because this is where if I were a hardcore fan, this is what would bother me. And it's this. So Draymond Green is a free agent last offseason. He gets a 4-year deal, okay? And this is the year he gives us. In year 1 of a new contract. This is the year that Draymond's given us. Okay. Now let's look at Klay Thompson. Klay's in the last year of his deal. He's got a lot of pressure on him because he's got a contract and the team's. And in his contract year, Klay's not playing well. And they bring him off the bench. And he struggles with it, but he's trying. And we know he's trying. And he ends up becoming a 6th man and doing pretty damn good at it as the season progresses. Like, just the idea that how Klay handled his last year of free agency, this past year, when his future's unknown, and how, just compare the way Klay's handled the season without a contract to how Draymond Green has handled the situation with the contract. Wow. That ain't right. Yeah. And that's why now my mind jumps, because there's a lot going on here. My mind jumps to, what if Klay walks? Or what if Klay is not a Warrior next year? And my first thought is, you're going to leave Steph with Draymond alone? That ain't right. Yeah.
And maybe it won't happen.
And I don't know. And the reason you'd say it's right is because, well, we're better. I mean, we're just better. We have to do this. No, you don't. We're not there anymore. We're not a title team anymore. We don't have to do this. And it just feels like maybe the Warriors are at that same spot. 888-957-9570 is the number.
Yeah, we'll see, Steiny. Like I said, it's Operation Charlotte tonight, Operation San Antonio Sunday. But as far as the words, Draymond is the little boy that cried wolf. Nobody cares about the apologies. You left your dudes for dead in a game on a back-to-back, and maybe you don't give a damn about the Rockets, but it's obviously your teammates do. You look at their performance after he left, that win, there was 2 scoreboards in that win. I just felt like, Steiny, you tell me if I'm wrong, we're not going to allow him to allow us to lose this game. There was some of that. Like, they could have been playing the Globetrotters, or the best team ever. It just felt like the Warriors were, there was something in that besides the W in the win column. But I'm just curious, if I were a fly on the wall, if I'm Draymond Green, I would want my head coach to tell me, what did you mean by unforgivable? Now, that's the other part of this.
I mean, that to me is the most definable word that's out there.
Man.
Like, I don't need somebody to explain to me what unforgivable means. Unforgivable means that something's happened that you can't move on from. You just can't.
And we got Zicky01 on the YouTube chat.
He's a clown.
Yeah, but Steiny, it ain't just a clown. He's in denial.
No, he doesn't believe. Half the people don't believe.
He can't say Draymond Green did this. He's such in denial. He's blaming the world for this guy's actions. And he's not he or she is not the only one. Wake up.
Trust me on this.
Nobody's enjoying this. And Steph Curry was in tears.
Trust me. There aren't a lot
Wake up, Ziggy.
He first of all,
quit fronting.
He doesn't matter.
I know he doesn't, but
because listen, we're on this radio every day. We listen to the fans. No. The Warrior fans. Of course, it's not 100%.
Right.
But Zicky doesn't matter. 90% of Warrior fans are out on this right now.
And the players and coach
you cannot tell me any differently.
One was in tears, the franchise. When have you ever saw that? And the coach uses a word on this station just yesterday. Unforgivable. They're tired. And he's sitting there waiting, Draymond, for Steph, as if Steph wanted any part of that hug, as if you broke your leg or turned an ankle.